Merry Christmas, YouTube. Merry Christmas, everyone. And please welcome back my regular guest, Ian Warner.
Hello there, YouTube.
And how's your Christmas been, Ian?
Not too bad. Had a quiet day in. Been perusing the presents and repainting an entire army of Batman-themed Night Lords, which is utterly insane.
Bog standard Christmas, then.
Yeah.
Speaking of prezzies, I'm wearing a new pair of headphones, which are very good, very powerful. It's the first time I've owned really good headphones in quite some time. I will also tell you that I have a bottle of podcast bubbly just for this Yuletide
very nice.
podcast. So let me just get the foil off, and with any luck, people should hear the pop. We'll see how good I am at that. Did you do traditional stuff? Did you have Christmas crackers? Did you set fire to the pudding? Because we do all of that.
Oh, well, we didn't set fire to the pudding, but all the others, yes. I think it was mostly my grandma who did the whole setting fire to the pudding, and she insisted on it. We tend not to.
Is your grandmother no longer with us?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
It was as I said, it was the thing she did.
We've never
setting the pudding on fire and adding way too much brandy.
Oh yeah, Mum does that. Yeah, I've never ever had a Christmas when we didn't set fire to the pudding, to the dessert. To any non-British people listening, we don't mean accidentally setting fire to a dessert. We mean that it is a thing that we do. Soak it in brandy, set fire to it, and I'm not going to get this. This bottle will pop at some random point, doubtless. I'm just going to take my jumper off because I'm a tiny bit hot. Hang on. Right, what can I say? Because I was dubious about this episode, to say the least, before we saw it. And I have mixed feelings. I liked that it was scary. I like the kind of themes of it to do with, spoilers, but to do with dreams and dreams within dreams and things like that. It did remind me of a couple of Star Treks, TNG and Voyager.
The test the Doctor did to discover whether they were in a dream or not was very interesting. Also, the fact that they could read in their dreams, because only a minority of the population can actually do that, apparently.
Oh, I can. That was a pop. That was a pop. Oops, it's going everywhere.
Hey! Because that came up in an episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Okay. Because
of the fact that the whole episode is, spoiler alert, it's the whole episode revolves around the Mad Hatter. We all know what's going on there. And the way he finds out he's in a dream world is he tries to open a book and read it, and it's all backwards. Because, I don't know if this was just the understanding at the time, but the understanding at the time was that most people, when they open up a book in a dream, they can't read it because the part of the brain that's reading isn't active when you're dreaming or something weird like that. It may be outdated science, but or maybe something that is just unique to Paul Dini. But that's how he worked out he was in a dream in that episode.
Interesting. So I can't think because I know I've seen signs and things in dreams, but that's different from reading a book. You've got some idea of what a roadside is going to say. But I related to this episode a lot, partly because of my OCD. Because I'm used to, try not to think about that. Make your mind think about something else is a daily reality of my every waking second. And then lucid dreaming, because obviously I've had sometimes when you realise you're dreaming, you wake up. sometimes when you realise you're dreaming, you jump into another dream. I've actually been in danger, realised it's a dream, and purposely teleported into a different dream that then turned out to be dangerous. I've also gone...
They did about 3 times.
Indeed. Yeah, it's like, is this still a dream? Is this still a dream? I have actually even, and according to you, James, this is extremely unusual, I've dreamt I was watching TV with my family, and we went through the screen into the TV show, and within the TV show, we found a gigantic book, and we walked into the gigantic book, and in the story that we were inside the book, there was a forest. What's unusual is, we escaped the danger that was in the forest by coming out of the book again, and then we managed to backtrack out of the television program.
This wasn't recently, was it?
No.
There's that Sky Movies advert that does something similar with the fact that Kermit turns up, invites them into the into the TV screen.
No, this was several years ago, and a lot of the elements were very peculiar to me. My family and I were on holiday in the caravan that Dad had when I was little, with a tiny little black and white TV that was also a radio with a tape deck. The TV show was actually Doctor Who as it was with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, which was, again, from my childhood. So there were very particular elements that say my childhood, particular mark. Where I have mixed feelings about this episode, I feel the ending was a bit tacked on, in a sort of, we were going to get rid of Clara, and then Jenna Coleman decided to stay, so we added an extra bit to the end kind of way. Because it would have been more profound not to have that last bit. I did like the stuff with where she's dreaming of Danny. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the... I liked how with the ending, that final shot on the tangerine just made you think, was that really all their combined subconsciousness, or was it the monk playing around again?
It's one of those things where, of course, because they've done, is this a dream or is this real life? A couple of years ago, Matt Smith did, didn't they? The tangerine at the end is troublesome because the last time Santa turned up again, it was an obvious clue to shit, we're still dreaming. So in that last scene, how do we still not know that it's a dream?
Yes, that's a good point. And that could... I was actually dreading that they would completely retcon Danny's death and the last episode, or the last couple of episodes. For a while.
Credit where credit's due. They managed to keep the fact that Samuel Anderson was in this episode a secret. But yeah, I guess it gave closure, and one of my favourite moments is that speech he gives. Every Christmas is a last Christmas. So yeah, why do people get together and meet up every Christmas? Because it might be the last time they do. Yeah. Yeah,
it was. Look, certainly, if that is the exit of that character, it was a good exit for that character. But obviously, we don't know because Moffat refuses to confirm anything. Apart from what's her name, Osgood. He's actually confirmed Osgood is dead recently in an interview, which just utterly broke the heart of so many people.
I know, I think all the people going, but it could have been the Zygon Osgood, that kind of clutching at straws, desperate to, but no, Moffat killed somebody. Don't take that away from us.
Yeah, he finally gets around to killing someone. He kills one of the few characters that I actually like of his.
You can't have your cake and eat it.
True. True. Her and the Paternoster gang, I think, are probably my favourite addition to my favourite thing Moffat's given to the show. Although the Paternoster gang, as you've said, are a bit hit and miss now and again, they are enjoyable when they are on. They're only good when they're supporting characters. This is something that was picked up recently by one of the Channel Awesome reviewers, that they were considering doing the Paternoster spin-off show, but then they realised these guys are the perfect supporting characters. If we give them a leading role, we'll kind of ruin that.
Oh, I don't know. I think you could thresh the characters out a bit. I actually kind of want to see them in movies. And I would actually say, you're going to laugh at me, but you know how Doctor Who kind of exists within the Marvel Universe?
Oh dear, here we go.
I haven't seen it, but the Doctor, I think was it the Doctor? The Doctor has turned up in various things. There's a Buffy comic, for example, that has the Doctor and Rose in, 10th Doctor and Rose. Although
I know he's in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen universe, but that's because it's all British literature.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
And it's only in the background of 2009.
But okay, I was going to say something about different universe continuities, because the 10th Doctor and Rose in the Buffyverse have a red telephone box, not the blue police box. So I was thinking that that's an alternative version. But anyway, but to put the Doctor in the Marvel universe, or to have the Who-niverse and the Marvel universe be the same, apart from the fact that a Doctor spin-off in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would be fucking cool.
Oh, yes.
What if you did sell the rights to the Paternoster gang to Marvel to have a Paternoster? That would be great.
I've only just got round to seeing Guardians, and I thought, if there's one thing, the great thing about that is just how they managed to make something so utterly insane actually commercially viable.
Yeah.
Because normally that kind of insanity, it's like the pattern, and I can see the similarities you're bringing up here, because I believe when we first mentioned the Paternoster gang, I mentioned how that it looked like somebody had turned up to a Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space role-playing.
Oh, yes.
Picked everybody's characters.
Yeah.
It's very much like that with Guardians, because Guardians is like is basically a really, really bad role-playing session on screen. I mean, bad as in good bad.
Did you hear our podcast on Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, I didn't actually.
Because Milan told the story of how it came about, but basically everybody in the Marvel office in the 70s was on acid. And Guardians of the Galaxy is literally the product of a group acid trip.
Oh right, okay. Well,
you're not really that shocked, are you?
Not at all, really. But it's actually quite funny, because I had there was one of these constant discussions going on the net about favourite Doctors, and somebody mentioned how the similarities between the Doctors, and somebody mentioned how the similarities between Matt Smith and Patrick Troughton, and I said, but Matt Smith's basically Patrick Troughton crossed with Tom Baker on acid, and I kind of like that.
Okay, so Ian, your full appraisal, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you were expecting.
It's funny because I am, although they've never actually had, I've never actually paid much attention to mainstream media, television, film critics. I do occasionally browse the sort of reviews, and the Radio Times one for this one said that this, from the preview tape he was given, essentially this is a cross between The Thing from Another World and Thing from Another World, Alien, and I don't know if you've heard of the Lobo paramilitary Christmas special, seeing as it was a indie fan film, but it's got something of a notoriety, so I suppose, but anyway, they what I wasn't expecting was a heavy dose of Phantasm as well.
What did you think
was that quite a ride?
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, what was especially fantastic about it?
A Phantasm, as in the film Phantasm, with the weird
floaty
silver balls and the dream sequence, constant dream sequences, and the fact that literally just so they can never stop making sequels, they decide to make it so that the guy never wakes up.
Right, okay.
Because basically, I think they originally planned to do 2 or 3, so that's why the first one has the ending where the strange, I can't remember what he's called. He's actually just got his character name is actually a description, not a name. Something the tall man, that was his name, the tall man. The way he always appears at the end of the movie and jumps, despite the fact they're pretty sure that they've finished him for good this time, but no, he appears in the middle of the movie because you haven't escaped from it again. But it just gets more and more ridiculous as they keep coming up with more and more elaborate ways to convince the audience that this time he's gone for good.
So Doctor Who, basically.
Yes. Well, yeah. If Doctor Who was If the Doctor was a malevolent character who walked around with floaty silver balls of grey...
I mean, Doctor Who is full of villains, where you're meant to be convinced that the villains are dead, and then...
yeah.
Dalek... Yeah.
He had a very Anthony Ainley way of coming back when there was absolutely no way he could have come back. And I don't know if I mentioned this in... previous podcast, but that's one thing. Another thing I give them credit for in the recent series finale is that the Master didn't really explain how she came back, which is, I think, a better way of doing it, because the fact that Russell T Davies, when he was writing that finale for the 10th, actually went into heavy detail on how he was going to resurrect the Master. That hadn't been done before. Ainley would get incinerated, he would crash into a star, he would be torn apart by his own robots, but he would always come back as the same Master, because that's what the Master does.
Yeah. Are you relieved that the Whoniverse didn't say that Santa Claus is real?
I was actually hoping that it wasn't just the Jasol consciousness thing. I was hoping the monk was in there with them, and Nick Frost was playing a new incarnation of the monk, the meddling monk.
That hadn't occurred to me at all, but it's an interesting angle.
But, because pretty much every incarnation of the monk we've had so far has been played by a comedian. We had Peter Butterworth as the original. In The Big Finish, we had Graham Garden. So it would be a natural progression to have him regenerate into Nick Frost.
Yeah, and you get sick of wearing vestments, and I think I'll be Santa Claus. Yeah, okay. I think that him being a dream works. I'm not quite sure about the question mark on the end. Like, ooh, but what if Santa is real after all? That was maybe a touch too far.
As I said, I like it because it ties in with my theory that it wasn't just their Jasol consciousness. It was a case of we're not entirely sure where the monks got to, but in the end of The Big Finish one, I think he stranded him on Earth again, so it's possible. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
I'm getting funny connection things on my side.
Yeah, you sometimes break up a bit. I, on the other hand, have to mute occasionally.
Right,
so,
okay.
So, yeah. But I kind of need to see this episode a second time, I think. And I feel exactly the same way about Miranda. I'm very... there's a sitcom over here called Miranda, and her Christmas special is a two-parter. And the first part, in the UK at least, went out just after Doctor Who. And they're both they were like the main TV events of... Cause we've been BBC One all day. Even if we weren't watching telly, it was on in the background. So today I have seen Chicken Run. I have seen Romeo and Juliet, which is surprisingly funny and gripping, I have to say. And Puss in Boots, the movie. And I think BBC One. I see, yeah, go BBC One. But like the main primetime things today were Doctor Who and Miranda. And Miranda, you know when a sitcom suddenly does a sad episode? And quite often it's a Christmas one. It's like, oh. But anyway, so there's me having, being pretty ambivalent about both of these shows. I think in terms of, although I tell you what, there were a couple of Moffat tropes when the monsters were introduced. Don't look at them, try not to think about them. You know that's a Moffat monster. But from a horror standpoint, this is the best Christmas special they've had.
And what I really loved is they acknowledged the Geiger influence. Totally acknowledged the Geiger influence in that.
That's true, yeah.
He actually said they kind of look like the facehuggers. The facehuggers? Well, they're from that horror movie, Aliens. You've got a horror movie called Aliens? No wonder people keep invading your planets.
Yes. The number of times somebody accuses somebody of being racist in this episode. if it's not elfism, it's something else. It's like, yeah, that's pretty offensive.
I'm pretty sure that's Moffat trolling us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's left me feeling pretty odd, this episode. I found it a bit tiring in a way. Maybe that's because it's the end of Christmas Day. I don't mean it's tiresome, but tiring, maybe because it was so kind of... But no, this is the truth. Ah! Haha! You thought that was the truth? No, it turns out that this other thing is the truth. And you get an hour of that. It's good, it's clever, but you do go a bit kind of, okay, I need an aspirin now.
Yeah, yes, and the different personalities they had in the base that sort of, it was a very, unlike Father Christmas, it was a very subtle way of hinting that there wasn't something quite right, in that they didn't look like the typical bunch of scientists. Although, as again they acknowledge this, the influence of the thing or the thing from another world, depending which version you prefer. You had that clash of personalities in the thing, and you had ones on the base. You were thinking, why is he on an Arctic base? You make no sense. What are you doing there?
Well, that could just be it being a Moffat script.
Yeah.
Just
also, I thought it was
randomly
quite funny when is it Shona wakes up? Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember the character. I can't. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't remember the character names, I'm afraid. You have to describe them.
Shona is the sort of really dopey one who actually works in a shop.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. Well, she has a to-do list when she wakes up, doesn't she?
And she wakes up. watch The Thing from Another World. It's on the to-do list, which I thought was quite funny.
Oh, right, gotcha. Yeah.
It said, it said, watch Alien, watch Thing from Another World. Really?
So that's part of the influence. And she'd crossed those off, which is part of what made the dream the dream. Okay, I hadn't even picked up on that. Or her mind's massive influence on what the group dream would be.
So, despite being one of the stupider people there, she actually had the highest willpower.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I do say actually, I do love the dancing bit as much as it confused me initially. It's one of my favourite bits. Yeah, that was a good character introduction. The way that she does the whole kind of dancing thing, and yes, it does make sense.
The poor Foxtine's like, this is insane.
Oh yes, and we should mention that cameo. Michael Troughton, because the late great Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor Who, had two sons, and David Troughton, the elder of the two, has been in classic Doctor Who as the King of Peladon, and new Doctor Who as the Professor on board the coach in the episode Midnight. But Michael Troughton, the younger son, whom some of you out there may know as Piers Fletcher Dervish in the Rick Mayall sitcom The New Statesman, this is his first appearance. Michael Troughton has finally appeared in Doctor Who.
And we just need his grandson Sam to turn up and we'll have the hat-trick.
That's very true. The closest I can think of is that Sam was in a fantasy series on Sky One called Hex.
Oh, he was in Alien vs Predator as well.
He was. You're right, he was. Okay. So we have a couple of things there. I liked him in Hex because he was a vicar who turned out to be a Nephilim. Which I just love that.
You've got to get me into some of these shows, man. That sounds so utterly preposterous that it's quite funny.
I'll lend you Hex on DVD.
Yes, and speaking of rather strange Vickers, that reminds me of an old John Pertwee episode where the Master is disguising himself. It's actually a 3-layered disguise because he's a Church of England vicar who is secretly a Satanist, who they're not really Satanists. They're trying to contact some kind of weird alien race who's given humans some of their technologies to involve advanced
yes, the
technology along.
It
was an episode.
Yeah. The serial,
The Demons,
which is
called.
The Demons, is what it's called, and that's a very well remembered serial, which one that they had to colorise.
It is. It also has a one of Brigadier's greatest moments in it, where he sees this gargoyle coming towards him.
Bok, yes,
and his little wings, 3 rounds rapid. Which is actually I got the name Jacobs for a vampire character. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
What's
Connection
happened?
thing's going again. I don't know what's going on.
It might be that lots of people use Skype on Christmas. I don't know. Apologies to the audience at home for the quality of this podcast. But yes,
we can edit bits of this out, can't we?
Yeah, I used to be quite in with the kind of convention circuit. Even hung out in a pub once with Nick Courtney, and the most quoted line for the Brigadier and the most quoted line at Nick Courtney, or the most requested line, was exactly that. Chap with the wings there, 5 rounds rapid.
I would have thought it was, what's the other one? Doctor, could we once perhaps have an alien threat you can actually deal with bullets? Or was that the second most requested?
Probably. The thing is, because Nick Courtney was a bit of a drinker, you know, he loved to go down the pub and all that. 5 rounds rapid became code for, you know, and in fact, the fans that would cling on at the end of a convention day and go and drink with the stars in the bar. And Nick Courtney was a very popular person to go and have a pint with. 5 rounds rapid came to mean let's go to the bar, basically.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if I told you this one before, but a friend of mine met what's his name? Philip Glenister down our local, the Jolly Farmers. And he was a bit worse for wear. He's buying everybody drinks, and he turns around to him and he goes, "You know, what was your name?" And he says, "Keith." He says, "Keith, you know what, Keith? I spent all this time, all these years acting, all these brilliant parts, all these brilliant performances, and I get famous for ripping off the Sweeney." Yeah. I think there's more to Life on Mars than ripping off the Sweeney, but that was most of its appeal, unfortunately.
Right. I only saw the first episode. But all these things that I mean to get into at some point.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen like the first series and bits of the second series, but I mostly know him from Ashes to Ashes, which, apart from the final episode, if they hadn't done the final episode, as if the solution, as it were, to both series' main conundrum wasn't nearly as stupid as it was presented in the last episode, it would have been great. But alas, it was. It was that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to rein us in, and we should do high point, low point for the 2014 Doctor Who Christmas special episode entitled Last Christmas, with the guest star Nick Frost as Father Christmas himself. And what would be my high point, if not the scene and the speech with Danny in the idyllic Christmas Day dream that Clara had? It would be some of the more horror, perhaps more alien-influenced scenes. Good concept, but as I say, it reminds me of at least one TNG and or at least one Voyager. I think in Voyager you're supposed to remember the moon, and if you saw the moon, that meant you were still dreaming, something like that. And low points. Perhaps that there were aspects of the realization of or the description, explanation of the monsters that were a bit Moffat tropey, perhaps, because particularly as we'd had Try Not to Think recently. So you've got, it's a bit Weeping Angel, it's a bit Silence, it's a bit whatever it was
in Listen.
Whatever it was in Listen. I didn't like that episode. I don't know why so many people like Listen, but anyway, like the ending feel. My low point will be the very ending feeling tacked on. So your high point and your low point.
High point, I'll have to say just that one line about you've got a horror movie called Aliens. No wonder people keep invading your planets. Because that's probably the harshest thing I've ever heard a doctor say about humans in the new series at all. Even the Ninth Doctor wasn't that blunt. And I like that we're now down to it's back to the grumpiness of the Doctor is back in style. I think that was a great highlight. Low point. I think I totally appreciate that the vast majority of this episode was written, directed by Moffat, directed at his haters. But I think the whole that's offensive gag was a bit too far.
Okay.
Because everything else worked really well. It was just like, okay, you're going to pick up on some of your valid criticism and rubbish.
Yeah, I hadn't. That's a bit meta for me. I hadn't picked up. But yeah, he has done things like that before. But yeah, okay. And just one more thing.
Yes.
Oh, that didn't work. Hang on.
Ah.
You recognise the sound of a party popper. And right. Well, if we can have a final thought and goodbye, Ian.
I think it's very nice to have a controversial writer troll us for Christmas. And yeah, in do it in a way that's actually quite creative and one of his better episodes. On that, goodbye, YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. This was a good, scary episode, especially for 6:15. I was like, oh, this is scarier than I was expecting. An hour of fun with Santa Claus at the beginning at 6:15 on Christmas Day, and I was like, oh, no, this is some scary shit right here. Okay, my final thought is probably that this was an exceptional and outstanding episode for Peter Capaldi. I thought so superb, and thank you very much for being on again, Ian. And well, there won't be a new series Doctor Who podcast for 6 months or however long. I know.
We have no indicator, do we?
No, we know the episode will be called The Magician's Apprentice. That's all we know. However, please do join us for Doctor Who Fridays, where we discuss the classic show. And well, actually, yeah, technically, I suppose. Sorry, I just realised that's on tomorrow. So yeah, join us tomorrow. Well, not me and Ian, but me and other panelists.
And I have a few ideas for podcasts that we will be looking into at some point as well.
Hooray! But yes, on Boxing Day, we will be discussing the Macra Terror. So, see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.